gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of Cedar Point Unlimited. I'm, of course, Adrian Barczyk, joined once again by Mr. Stephen Lynn. Steve, what is up tonight?
Oh, well, not too much. We're in the midst of the coronavirus shutdown, so we thought
more content, right? More content.
Let's throw out some more Cedar Point stuff.
So one of the suggestions made on our last show, and we've been writing down the stuff that you guys said there for the Ask Us Anything show. But this time we decided that there's a really good suggestion in there. We're like, hey, let's hit on this. And that was one person asked us to rank all of the roller coasters at Cedar Point. Now, Steve, there's a whole nother story here too. We could rank all the rides too on top of that.
Do that.
But tonight we are only ranking the roller coasters at Cedar Point. So just like Danny and I, we did the most anticipated show this week. What we do is we rank them separately, and then we average them together, both me and Steve. That way, I think it gives us a better mix. And we can talk about like where we rank stuff personally. I have my list right here. We love to show lists. We love to show lists on this show. So,
you're old school. I go all on the notes.
Oh my goodness, no, paper and pencil. The old tried and true. So I have my list here. I have our combined list. I got two lists here, so we can talk about how we ranked it as well. We're going to run through our collective rankings for 18 through 10, and yes, we do count Pipe Scream as a coaster, so you can throw your stuff at your screen, and I hope you break it because it is a coaster. So at 18, we had Wilderness Run, 17, Woodstock, 16, Corkscrew. Tied for 13th was Pipe Scream, Wicked Twister, Mine Ride, and then 12 was Iron Dragon. Now, we have a whole bunch of ties here as well, so we're actually going to talk about 11 coasters here. But they're all in the top 10, if you will. Any thoughts on that list there? Stuff that's good. I like some of these things. Wicked Twister, I think, is a great ride, but I just don't fit it anymore. Those restraints are so restrictive.
Yeah, I absolutely hate Wicked Twister. Every time I get off of it, it gives me a headache. Let's see. On mine,
You're not a spinny guy, though.
Yeah, I'm not a spinny coaster guy. So that's one of the main reasons. I had it ranked as my number 15. So
okay. So like Wicked
not
Twister,
high up there for me.
And that would make sense why you don't like Pipe Scream. Me personally, Pipe Scream for me, I had it ranked 11 overall. Pipe Scream is a ride I love because I love the spinny aspect of it, and obviously you would not be.
I would not. Yeah, and then another one like Mine Ride. I enjoy Mine Ride as the ride itself, but I'm taller, so yes. I'm like 6 foot. I mean, that's really not even that tall, but no. I mean, it's uncomfortable to sit in those cars, especially if you have the shared bar and you're really sharing it with the whole entire car. It's not just sharing it with your row. So usually I'm the one on the short end of the stick, and I'm the one that's smashed into the seat, and it's uncomfortable. But overall, I mean, it's a fun little ride. But
I kind of wish because a few seasons ago, on Point Buzz, they posted pictures of them testing the Gemini cars on Mine Ride.
I forgot about that. That would have been much better.
Yes, that would have been awesome because they had so many cars for Mine Ride, and they ended up just getting rid of a whole bunch of them. That you see some of in the old Town Hall Museum, they had a Gemini train there. So them putting the Gemini trains on Mine Ride would have been awesome. Would have solved that problem.
Yeah. Well, now they're using the Gemini train as part of the parade and
parade. So they're just basically not doing much with them. So it's unfortunate that they couldn't get that to work, but I would assume that clearance issues or the way that it ran on the track just wasn't working out for them.
It just wasn't reliable enough. Another one I had that was not in our top 10, Iron Dragon. There's nothing special about it at this point other than the fact that it's one of the few remaining aero-suspended coasters. But, I mean, it's a good ride.
I have a lot of good memories on Iron Dragon. That was like one of my first big rides, if you will, as I'm assuming most people. The VR stuff, when they tried that out, I didn't mind it. I thought it was kind of cool.
I thought it was a cool idea. It just It gave me a headache just because the quality of the VR headsets wasn't that great. It was like
Yeah.
almost like I was straining my eyes the whole time to figure out what was going on. If it was like, I don't know, I've never used one of like the Google headsets or the Microsoft headsets, but I would imagine they're better, much better quality since they're being run by a computer rather than a Samsung cell phone.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean, it's a cool idea. I, I don't think they did it at all last year, the VR stuff. So
No, so most of the parks have gone away from the VR. The best I saw it integrated was on Kraken at SeaWorld, because it was completely encompassing. So it was the headset, it was the audio, and I think that was the ticket, but they just couldn't get it to work out. Plus, you know, in our society now, as we're in the midst of this coronavirus stuff, like that whole process is really disgusting once you start
yeah,
thinking about it.
especially like because when I was working at Cedar Point, I was in the group that would like have people fill out surveys when they were still doing the test for it. And there were some days it was like 98, 100 degrees.
Yes.
And I mean, you have just people covered in sweat, sharing helmets. And yes, they wipe them off with a disinfectant cloth. But really, if those things are covered in sweat, you're not getting all of that off, especially on such a
Yeah.
hot and humid day.
Yeah. It's just, and granted, I guess there's a level of disgusting for all theme parks,
Yeah, I
but that
mean, we're all
just seems,
sharing seats with and
yeah,
touching handles, and people don't wash their hands, or
yeah,
they, you don't know
yeah.
what they're doing.
But being on your face, that was like next level
Yeah.
disgusting, I think. So let's get into our list here, our top 10 list. Like I said, it's going to be of multiple rides because we have a number of ties. So tied for 10th here on
This
our
is kind
list.
of funny looking at it now. Like these two are tied for 10th. One is just on such an extreme, and then the other is the oldest coaster in the park.
Yeah, so two completely ends of the spectrum here. We got Dragster on there at 10, and then of course Blue Streak on there at 10. And Blue Streak for me, I had it ranked a little bit lower at 9 on my personal, well, not lower, but a little bit higher at 9 on my personal list. There are days though. I remember the Halloween weekends, Friday nights when you get the right temperature, and Blue Streak is just flying on that track. And it's not always running like that. Like
Mhm.
it runs pretty well. But there are days that Blue Streak is a fantastic roller coaster. But I think that goes to show you the strength of the list at Cedar Point too.
Yeah. As for Dragster being so high, I mean, it's it's a one of a kind roller coaster. Well, I guess there's
Yeah.
few that are like it now, but I mean, it broke so many records. It was crazy when it came out, and it's too short for me. For the amount of time that you wait, how uncomfortable it is to stand in that line on a hot summer day,
Yes.
the chance that you could stand in line for an hour, 2 hours, and not even get to ride it because it runs into mechanical issues. It's just on a Friday night, Halloween weekends when you can get on in 20 minutes, awesome ride. But to wait as long as you do and potentially not even ride it, or to only spend 17 seconds on it to go up and down, it's if you've never ridden it before, and you go to Cedar Point, it's a top 3 ride that you have to do.
Yes.
But I've been riding it ever since I don't know.
Have you ever gone to roll back on it?
Have what?
Have you ever gone to roll back on it?
No,
No.
I have not.
No.
I want one.
Dragster in the front row is one of those special experiences that I think, like you said, you have to ride this ride if you've never been there. I think Dragster in the front row is one of those things that you have to do if you've never done it before. And if you can hit it on one of those, I don't know anymore, because Halloween weekends even last year was pretty packed on Friday
Yeah.
nights. So if you can hit it on a slow day and not have to wait as long, waiting for that, maybe an extra 20 minutes for that front row might be worth it, because that is a special experience to be in the front row.
If I could go back, if I could feel how I felt the very first time I rode that, just sitting there with just the feeling of pure terror,
Yeah.
That would probably be my number one, just because that feeling of just, oh my God, what did I just get myself into, was great. And then every time after that, you're like, okay, it's not so bad. Now at this point, I know, like, okay, we're going to get up there. It's going to stop. It's going to roll back a tiny bit, and off we go.
Yeah.
The only ride that still just absolutely terrifies me at Cedar Point is Power Tower, the drop the drop side, the green side. That's the only ride that still does that for me. But
I can't tell you the last time I ridden the drop side. It might be a decade, to be honest. So it's been a while. So coming in at number 9 is one that you had a lot higher. I had a little bit lower, and that is Rougarou. Now Rougarou, so I'll say this. I think Cedar Point, and we've said this before too, I think Cedar Point missed a real opportunity by not changing the restraint style on Rougarou, because I think it has a really nice layout. I think that first super huge loop coming off the first drop is really great, even no matter what you do. It's just that second half, and Mantis had the same problem. It just headbangs you like crazy.
Yep.
And Rougarou, I don't think has changed with the sit down cars. I don't think it's changed all that much. It's a little bit better because it's not pulling your forces down into your legs, so it's just your head that hurts as opposed to your head and your legs. But I think they missed a real opportunity by not changing the restraints and doing like a vest restraint like we see on Gatekeeper and Banshee and some of the other newer B&Ms, because that would have been a really fantastic ride with vests, I think.
Yeah. See, I had this as my number 5.
Yeah, you're a big Rougarou fan.
Yeah, I got the hat.
Got the hat, right?
No, it's I really like the floorless part of it. When they brought that in, I mean, really, I was hoping when they announced a floorless coaster, I was hoping it would, they were going to tear Mantis down entirely and make something totally new. But this is what we got, and I really like it. See, whenever I ride it, I either sit in the very front or the very back, and I don't find the head banging that bad in those spots. So maybe that's just why I like it more, just because I'm not getting my head banged around, just because I'm very picky about where I'm sitting, though.
And I'll tell you what else. It's very dependent upon your height. So, like, if you're a little bit taller than me, so you might be right out of that range. And it's like people say, "Oh no, it's a lot smoother now." And some people are like, "Oh yeah, I don't get the head banging." I think it's very dependent, because I get the head banging on a lot of the B&M floorless coasters, because one, they rattle a little bit more. And I just think I'm that perfect height that I just get bounced around the whole time.
I think my neck actually clears the harness part. So then, I mean, I'm not hitting my head on the sides of it. Yeah. Plus, when I'm on it, I just from riding Mantis, I got so used to like leaning my head forward, so I was nowhere near it. So that probably helps me out a little bit too.
Yeah. So another one that we agreed on, we both had Dragster at 8. And we both had this next one at Dragster at 10, and we both had Gemini at 8. So Gemini is probably the ride that I've ridden the most in that park. And that's just because of the Coasting for Kids events. We'd spend all day. I did like 2 or 3 of those, I think. I think it's 3 different events at Cedar Point where we would ride for like 100 times in a day. So I am very, very, very well acquainted with what Gemini does. And I think it's one of those quiet sleeper hits that I've always said, if Gemini wasn't at Cedar Point, if it was at any other park in the world, any other park, that this ride would be heralded by most enthusiasts as being fantastic, as being a special treasure, as being something that we cannot lose in our society. But because it's at Cedar Point, people forget about it. And now there are discussions of it being torn down. So
we can get into that part another day.
Yeah. But I think Gemini is a great roller coaster. I think that first drop is fantastic. Yeah, the turnarounds, the figure 8 design is a little dated. The turnarounds, they used to be a lot more fun back in the day when people used to stick out their hands and play up the racing aspect. Like Gemini, before all the new, and I'm going to date myself here, before all the new big coasters came in, you had Magnum. And Magnum was always hot, in the back of the park at the end of the night. But then Gemini was equally as hot because people didn't want to stay in the Magnum line. So they go over to Gemini, and it'd be freaking college boys, fratting, like a major frat party. People yelling and screaming, high-fiving, yelling obscenities at the other train. Oh, it was a grand old time.
The good old days.
The good old days. And you just, like, Steve, I put out my hand sometimes on Gemini and people look at me like, what the hell are you doing?
Like, why are you trying to touch me on this ride?
Why are you trying to touch me? Times have changed apparently. And Gemini just has not kept up with those old traditions.
See, I like it just because it never has a line, and it's a pretty thrilling ride for how short of a line it always has.
Yes.
It's always a walk on anytime, unless you're going on a Halloween weekend Saturday or holiday weekend type thing. You get on with, you walk right into the entrance and on you go.
Yeah, absolutely. So at number 7, now this is kind of like that zone, and both of us really struggled with this middle part of our rankings. Because like so many of the rides, it's like, okay, Gemini on this night's really good. Valraven, which is our number 7 ride on this night, is really good. So it's like you struggle with this. So we had Valraven at 7.
Mean Streak after it rains at night when the the trims aren't on the
we
first
had
hill.
That ride, me and you, we had that magical ride. that oh man, that Mean Streak ride, that thing, I don't know. And I remember looking at you and saying, we are in, like, going down that first song, like, we are in for some shit right now. And we were. That was a magical night. I don't know what it was. So Valraven at number 7. Valraven, the first drop, really good. I like the roll at the end, where you kind of come out of your seat a little bit. I kind of wish they would have done something a little different with Valraven, though. I wish they would have done, Danny talks about a lot of the European parks and how there's like more stuff to these rides over there. We see Emperor at San Diego now, and it seems like there's more stuff to it. Like, they went for the height, and I wish they would have, in that second drop too. I've never understood the second dive on a lot of these dive coasters. Like, I get it on the first one, you're trying to really emphasize it on SheiKra, and then Griffin does it. I don't understand why Valraven went and did it too. It seems almost formulaic. And I don't know.
The only other dive coasters I've been on are SheiKra and Griffin. And I mean, Valraven's just, you could get them confused if they were all painted the same color. You may not know which one's which. And
I tell you what, if we could somehow put you in like a simulator and have you close your eyes and say, okay, which one are you on? I think a lot of the percentage of the population would not know the difference.
Yeah, other than the enthusiasts, but like you throw a random guy off the street on each of those rides and say which one's which.
It's going to be really hard to tell there. So I kind of wish they would have done a little bit more with Valraven. Even theming would have been nice there, but that was one of those weird things of Cedar Point where I didn't understand what they were doing. Number 6, number 6, Gatekeeper, right there at the front of the park. Gatekeeper is another one of those rides that you put this ride anywhere else, and people will be like, oh my God. But once again, it gets lost in the mix at Cedar Point.
I mean, how it looks amazing. The color up against the lake, how it interacts with it's Gatekeeper's literally the entrance to Cedar Point. But yeah, I mean, when you're comparing it to other rides like Millennium, Steel Vengeance, Dragster, I mean, we have it ranked ahead of Dragster, but a lot of people will probably put Dragster ahead of Gatekeeper if they were in our position right now ranking rides. But yeah, it's a great ride. It just won't. It's not at Cedar Point. It's just, it gets lost. Like, I don't know.
It just gets lost in the greatness of everything else. Gatekeeper, I think going through those loopholes is just a fantastic experience. Like, Gatekeeper is one of those rides where I'm always like, I don't know if I want to walk all the way up there.
Yep.
It's like,
you got to go towards the front, and then you got to go past
all the way to the lake.
All the game people are yelling at you to come win a basketball.
Yeah,
and as we saw from the tournament of Terrible, no one wants a basketball.
Nobody wants a basketball. Sorry, we don't want basketballs. We've already learned that this year. But it's like you got to walk all the way to the side. But the thing is, when I do walk over there and I do ride it, I'm like, what the hell? This ride's fantastic, I
think Gatekeeper at night is great. Especially, going through the keyholes at night, you can barely see, anything around you to begin with. And then all of a sudden, the feeling that your legs are going to get cut off seems so much more extreme at night because
Mm-hmm.
they're so lit up. But
There was one fall. I did a fall freak out with Great Ohio. This was a few years back, and we had Gatekeeper ERT at night one of the nights. And nobody was there for some reason. I don't remember the circumstances of what was going on. So I think there was other rides open at the time, and everyone went there, and I just sat on Gatekeeper. I got like 14 or 15 uninterrupted rides.
wow.
I'm like, this is fantastic. And you were just flying through it, going through that first. I kind of gray out on that first inversion coming off that drop. And then just going over that airtime hill and then through the keyholes. Like, it's just a fantastic ride. It's smooth. It's fun. And like I said, if you can hit it without a line and you can trek all the way over there, it's worth it every time.
I do. The only thing I like that wing drop to begin the ride is it's cool, but I almost wish it was just a regular drop. You just go over the lift hill and just go straight down. It just, I don't know, the slow turn to go upside down, it almost takes away that like feeling you get in your stomach dropping on the first hill.
Yeah, no, I can see that. Like the turning is kind of like, whoa, but then it's just like, oh, okay. And then it's like
this happened. Like
yeah, it's like, oh, okay. So yeah, Gatekeeper, one of those that I like. Tied for number 4. Okay. Obviously because of my ranking. We have 2 rides. We have Raptor and Magnum tied for number 4. Most people call us crazy right now, mostly because of my ranking. So let's talk about Raptor first, and then we'll talk about probably what.
So everyone knows I had Raptor at number 7.
Yeah, well, that's still pretty high.
It is.
I have Raptor at 2.
Had it.
That was a very big decision for me to put it down at number 2 over the clear number 1 in the park. But Raptor, I'll tell you what, I there is nothing more that I can say about Raptor that I haven't already said in my life. If you want any of my thoughts on Raptor, just go watch Raptor versus Manta 1. If you're so inclined, you can go watch Raptor versus Manta 2, but you got to join our Patreon. You can watch that there. So, Steve, we'll just let you talk about Raptor because people are probably sick of hearing
for me, Raptor, it's a great ride. Very smooth. I love the roar, the sound that it makes. You're pretty much every B&M moving forward from, I don't know when it started, but for Cedar Point, at least, Gatekeeper is the one. They're not going to have those roar anymore. They're filling them with sand. Yeah. People are complaining because they're so loud, but you're walking down the midway or walking underneath a loop and that ride goes by and you've never heard it before. You're going to look over and be like, oh my God, what was that? And it just, it makes Raptor sound terrifying. But the overall layout of the ride is absolutely amazing. Going over the midway, interacting, going through the loops, the twists, the turns, you're interacting with so many parts of the ride. I think if you're riding that, you have to wait for the front row, just because the view that you get of the ride is absolutely amazing.
And that's one thing I've always been a proponent, and it doesn't make sense. People make fun of me for this all the time. I've always been a proponent on inverts being better in the front because you get the view, you get the unobstructed, layout in front of you. And some of those twists that you do are absolutely amazing. But, the rides are designed with the heavy positive G's to be experienced towards the middle or the back. The back is going to be your more intense ride. But the front, I think, is the more enjoyable ride personally.
Yeah. It feels like you're flying.
Yeah, it really does. It tells the story of a bird, too. So, once again, go watch Raptor Manta 1 if you want to know all about that. So, the other tie for number 4 was Magnum, our thrilling 32 2020 Hall of Fame inductee, Magnum XL 200. Oh, man, I tell you what, that ride. This is another ride. In this one, I don't mind repeating because people need to be reminded that if you think Magnum is too rough, if you think it's not good, if you think it should be torn down, you just need to stop riding roller coasters because Magnum is one of those perfect examples of what a roller coaster should be, the out-of-control feeling. There's times on, like you talked about, like Power Tower. There's times on Magnum where I think I'm falling out. There's nights that my shirt's up over the back of the seat. I'm flying out of the seat. Like I'm like, I could be sitting in the back row. I was sitting in the front row when I started the ride. Now I'm in the back row. That's what I'm thinking every time I ride that.
Yeah. So I have a fun story about Magnum and my car keys. So I was wearing cargo shorts with the button ups. This was, oh my God, this was probably 2012. So 8 years ago or so. Had my keys buttoned up in my pockets, and there was maybe a little hole between the buttons about this big that stuff can fall out of. And so we're towards the end of the Magnum ride, going up all the little bunny hills, flying out of your seat every time. All of a sudden, I see this shiny thing out of the corner of my eyes, and I'm like, what is this? And my natural reaction, pick up, I have my hands up to begin with, so I reach out and grab it, and I'm looking at it, I'm like, oh my God, those are my car keys. So I had literally caught my car keys in my hand, and we go through the picture, and it's just, you see me in the picture staring at my hand like this, mouth wide open, like I didn't have my wallet with me, thankfully, because that probably would have flown out of my pocket too, so I couldn't buy the picture, but I should have.
That's crazy. There's a time we were standing underneath Dragster, and like we were looking up, we watched the car go up, and once it got to the very top of the ride, we see something fall, and we're like, oh, that's not good. So it fell all the way down, fell into the bushes, right outside. So if you like Witch's Wheels right there, right across there are like some benches. Well, not anymore. There's some benches, there's some bushes. So it fell into the bushes. My sister gets the cell phone, having just fallen 400 feet. Still works perfectly.
Wow.
Still works perfectly. So she took it to the Dragster photo place and left it there. And that was a good deed for the day. A good story about Magnum I have, and I've told this one before too, was opening weekend for Windseeker that year. Windseeker was not open that weekend because Windseeker was delayed, but it was opening day of that year that Windseeker was supposed to open. And it was super foggy out. Like if you were standing down by the hotel, like let's say you were by the Hotel Breakers pool, the old Hotel Breakers pool, you could not see Windseeker. That's how foggy it was. So I rode Magnum that day, and it was like a high fog, So throughout the day it changed. At the beginning of the day it was like foggy everywhere. Then as the day progressed, it turned into a high standing fog. So what would happen is when you went up the lift hill on Magnum, at some point, it was all white all around you.
In a cloud. You couldn't see anything.
Couldn't see anything. Could not see the ground. Couldn't see anything. I'm like, damn, this might be the coolest thing I've ever experienced on this ride. And then the cooler part is you went down the first hill, and when you went back up the second hill, guess what happened? You went back into the cloud. Couldn't see anything again. Oh my God. That was a ride on Magnum that I'll never forget. You just look around you. It was all perfect white everywhere. It was like you're in your own little like simulation almost of Magnum. So that was a cool ride.
I think the last couple opening days, Magnum has been my first ride of the year, just because like when Steel Vengeance opened, there was the media day or pass holder appreciation day. So I got my rides in then. I wasn't going to wait 4 hours as soon as I got in. So I ended up going on Magnum first, and then same thing last year. Magnum was the first ride of the year, and probably be the same this year because I always end up parking by the water park, and that's the first ride you're near as soon as you get in the park. So and
that's one of my great pleasures too, is that one never has the line on it anymore too. So I really enjoy riding Magnum over and over and over. Another one that for Coasting for Kids that we had extended marathons on. Like I remember one morning we rode it, I think 24 times in the morning. That was a fun day. 24 times on Magnum, and then 115 on Gemini to finish off the day. So that was quite.
They need to bring that back. They stopped doing that.
I know. I miss it. I miss it a lot. They're like, oh, health this, health that.
Yeah, I still have my shirt. One of my shirts, the purple. It's a purple.
The purple one, the dry fit one, right?
Yep.
Yeah. I forget which ones were which. I know I had light blue. I had the green. Those were both at Cedar Point. I have the purple one. I think I was at Worlds of Fun for the purple one. And then for the navy blue one, I was at Canada's Wonderland because I started moving around. Yeah. Doing at other places. So getting on to our number 2 here. Number 2 is tied, 2 and 3. So we're going to call them both 2. And that is, it should be clear at this point what's happening here.
Yeah.
So tied for
where
second.
Everyone in the world, their lists will all match ours.
Yeah, this one, the top three should be pretty close. So we got Millennium Force and Maverick, the two Intamin twins. The tall one and the short one, the two siblings there, if you will. Maverick, just one of those special rides. Another ride that I don't know if there's more I can say about it. Besides that, I'll tell you what, Maverick is one of those rides that is just intensity from start to finish. The minute you get off that first hill, you're going through those. You're going through the turns. You're going through, the half loops. You're going through the horseshoe roll. You have those two fantastic airtime hills, one at the first half, one at the second half. That first airtime hill is one of the best airtime hills anywhere on any roller coaster. The amount of air you get on that. The launch is fantastic. Yep.
Maverick literally has everything you could want in a roller coaster.
Besides height.
Yeah.
But it still has a good first drop.
It makes up for that with the first drop. It had the first drop with how short it is. It somehow manages to give you that 300-foot drop feeling.
Yeah. And how fast it's moving right off of that drop too. That thing is booking from start to finish off of 100 or so foot drop. It's just mind boggling. But Maverick is one of those rides that's just special.
Yep. I think one of the coolest parts of this past year's Winter Chill Out was you got to go and check out the Maverick launch tunnel.
Yeah.
They only let you go so far in, but it was a view most people don't get to see, and just cool.
Yeah, no, that's cool. Maverick infield, they themed it out. The station.
One thing where was I looking? I don't remember how I got to this again, but I saw the original renderings of Maverick in the infield was so much more detailed in the renderings. They were supposed to have all these different, I don't know, little sheds and a stream of a waterfall going over the rocks or something, and just never panned out that way. But I thought it was interesting when I saw it. I was like, oh, whoa, none of this is there, but it looks really cool.
No, that's classic Cedar Point though. Big theme. Let's scale that back though once we get to reality. So also tied for number 2 is Millennium Force. One of those rides that I think gets a little bit too much hate. And I get it. People love to rave about Millennium Force and talk about Millennium Force. I'm not a huge Millennium Force guy. I have Millennium Force down at number 4 on my personal list. Probably, though, if I look at my overall list, probably it's in my top 10. I think it's actually number 5 in my top 10. So it's not a ride, but it's a ride that you forget about. You talked about earlier, you wish you could ride something again for the first time. And I've said for years, I wish I could ride Millennium Force again for the first time, because it's a fantastic roller coaster. Because it's 20 years old now, I think people forget how good of a ride. You get the airtime. You've got the wide sweeping turns that give you, the force that you want. That speed hill by the station, one of the best speed hills in the game. I just, that first drop, amazing. I just think Millennium is one of those rides that's just fun from start to finish.
See, so when I started going to Cedar Point, Gemini was already there, Magnum was already there. Cedar Point was already on the map for having big rides. And for my lifetime, Millennium was the big one that really changed everything. So, I probably didn't ride that till I was probably 13, 14 years old. It scared me. It was huge. You look at it, it's just intimidating how it is, especially at night with the lighting package. Looks great now that the lights are working again since they
I love it.
Changed them all to the LEDs several years ago. During Halloween weekends when they used to have Terror Island on what's now Adventure Island and Forbidden Frontier, when you would go over that river and you're in a sheet of fog going over those massive overbank turns. It was crazy.
Yeah, Millennium just I think it gets a little bit. I get people the backlash. I get it. It's not that great. I still think it's a fantastic roller coaster. I don't think it's the best Giga Coaster. I think the best Giga Coaster is Fury 325.
I would have to agree.
Like I don't think
and I think I-305 beats out Millennium also. That's like putting Millennium and Maverick together into one roller coaster where you have the big height, the giant hill, and the speed, and then you also have those low to the ground, crazy twists and turns and things like that on I-305. So.
And see, I-305 never really resonated with me. Like I rode it a whole bunch, and I just don't love I-305. I still think it's a great ride. I still have it ranked in my top 15. But when I start ranking Gigas, right now I have Fury, then Millennium, and then I-305, and then Leviathan. Yeah. And I don't I don't want to say this though, but. I don't know if Orion's going to be better than Millennium either. So
yeah, probably not. But
I don't know. I don't know. Like obviously I've watched everything. I've watched the POVs. I've watched the test runs. I don't know. It's going to be one of those game time decisions where you actually have to ride the damn thing to find out,
Yeah. But no, with Millennium, like if someone says, what's the first roller coaster that comes to mind when you hear Cedar Point, it would be Millennium Force for me.
It really is. It's what saved that park. It's what set the game up. Why we have all these other rides, and you can say Magnum did that too. We've made that argument personally before. But Millennium really was that game changer in 2000. That you got Jaga Lake, nipping at the buds. They're coming. Six Flags is coming after Cedar Point all of a sudden, and it really was Millennium Force that kind of solidified. Okay. This is the real game in town here. So
what the X-Flight at Jog Lake, that's what Six Flags got the year that Millennium came out, I think. So
that's a real comparison there. I tell you, that's a. I don't know if you could have two different roller coasters like X-Flight. That's like whatever. So good old Firehawk. I'm glad I don't ever have to ride that one again. That's my opinion there. So obviously, number one, the best roller coaster in the world, the best roller coaster in the universe, the best roller coaster ever, maybe forever. I don't know. Hopefully, we'll see what happens. Steel Vengeance. Why even say words?
I don't think we even have to talk about it, really.
No. Why? It's just one of those rides, and you know what? That going back to that media day for Steel Vengeance and riding it that first morning, and just looking at Danny and saying, "What the hell?"
Yeah,
like that.
Getting back to the station, just looking at your riding partner and being like, "What just happened?" And how we were talking about wishing we could ride rides for the first time over again. Every time I've gone on Steel Vengeance, I've gone back to the station and I've probably ridden it maybe 10, 15 times since it's been open now.
Yeah.
You get back to the station, you're still every single time like, oh my God, I can't believe that just happened.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's really, I tell you what, you experience different things on it too. I thought, because, I rode it a lot at the beginning of the season when it opened. And then I'm like, oh, this is a really good ride. But then I rode it during the middle of the summer, that opening season, at night, in the front row, with all the lights, and it flying through that track. And I tell you what, that's a whole different experience. It's just.
I've only ridden it at night one time, and it was amazing. And I definitely like riding it at night better. I don't know, something about riding roller coasters at night is just better than riding them during the daytime.
They are.
I don't know what it is.
And I'll say this one, riding at night in the front row, because all the beams are lit up and stuff.
But then you can open your mouth and get a bunch of bugs too.
Oh, well, yeah. Yeah, you get your protein for the evening on Steel Vengeance. I tell you what, that ride, it's just a special ride. I'm hoping that they find ways to maintain it, to keep it running that way. I don't want to see them pull the harness. There was worries that they were going to start, pumping the brakes a little bit on the mid-course. But to ride that ride in its peak condition, running full speed, there's nothing in the world. And I don't know. I don't foresee anything ever touching it. Now, hopefully, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe,
Iron Gwazi opening that
Iron Gwazi looks amazing. Iron Gwazi looks amazing. It does not look Steel Vengeance amazing. No.
Could knock it off. I don't think it will, but I think it could.
You never know. You never know. I think there's going to be a line of people, though. I will say this certainly. There will be a line of people that will say Iron Gwazi is better. And those
I feel like those people are saying that just because they have a hate for Cedar Point.
They do. And I can say that definitively because they're not watching this program right now. They wouldn't be caught dead watching a program
They're the people who are giving us the 2 dislikes every video.
Yes. Oh, those assholes talking about Cedar Point again. Thumbs down. They have not gotten to this point, so screw them. They will line up, though. Steve, you can prepare the line already. They are lining up. They've already filled out their Thrilling 32 Ride Warrior Choice Awards ballots, and they've already got Iron Gwazi at the top. There is no question that people
and they
already
have Steel Vengeance not even making the cut.
No. So they're like, Steel Vengeance who? But no, I've looked at the stuff on Iron Gwazi. Now, once again, you have to ride the ride. But I don't think it's. I think there's gonna be a lot of fun stuff on Iron Gwazi. I think it's
crazy. We haven't even seen like an official POV yet, so we don't even know fully what to expect. There's the fan made ones that based off the blueprints and the aerial video or footage and all that. They're pretty accurate, but we won't know for sure even from just looking at those.
Yeah, so that it's gonna be a fun year for that. So Steel Vengeance there at number 1, and that concludes our top 18 coasters at Cedar Point. I kind of like this list. I like what we've done here. I think the averaging.
So we'll have to see. We'll have you guys put in the comments where you rank your top 18. Include Pipestream as a roller coaster because it is. Whether you like it or not, it is.
And if you don't, expect ridicule for not doing so.
Yes.
Expect ridicule.
If you do not include it on your list, we will void your list because it is not a complete list, so it will not count.
So as always, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us here on CP Unlimited. I'm, of course, Andrew Barchak from Chicago, Illinois.
And I am Steve Lynn from Cleveland, Ohio, where everything is currently closed. So we will probably have some more videos coming your way based off of your comments and whatnot, because I have nothing else to do, really.
And nothing to do, right? I maybe nothing to do for a very long time, too.
Yeah,
so,
I'm stuck working from home for the next 2 weeks, and it's about it. Walk my dog and play some Call of Duty Warzone, and that's about it.
Right on, Ride Warriors.